Ethan Morgan had always believed in order, the kind that made life predictable and safe. Every morning began the same way, the alarm's shrill cry at 6, the soft clinking of mugs in the kitchen, and the faint hum of the radio where his wife, Layla, sang along off-key. To anyone watching, they were perfect, the kind of couple whose smiles looked rehearsed for family portraits. But lately the silence between them had begun to stretch. It wasn't angry silence, it was heavier, colder, the kind that fills a house after laughter forgets how to return. Ethan told himself it was work. The late-night shifts, the fatigue, the kind of exhaustion only a police officer understands. Yet something deeper had changed. When he came home, Layla was already asleep. Her phone glowed faintly beside her pillow, then dimmed the moment he entered the room. Once he'd have kissed her cheek. Now he just watched her back rise and fall under the sheets, each breath feeling like a quiet goodbye. "You're working too much again," she said one morning, stirring sugar into his coffee. "Someone has to," he replied, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. They had met 10 years ago in an art gallery. He was the quiet observer, she was the storm, laughing, alive, everything he wasn't. Together they balanced like brushstroke and canvas, but now she felt like someone else's painting, familiar yet unreachable. That evening, rain tapped softly against the windows. Layla sat in the living room, her voice low, her expression hidden behind her hair. Ethan stood in the hallway watching. "I miss you too," she whispered into her phone. "Soon, I promise." The words sliced through the quiet like a knife. He took a step back before she could see him. His chest tightened. Maybe it was a friend, maybe family, but her tone said otherwise. There was a tenderness there, something intimate, something not meant for him. He sat awake on the couch long after she'd gone to bed. The lamp flickered. The air felt strange, thick with something he couldn't name. When she walked past him hours later, she kissed his forehead like she always did. "Don't stay up too late," she murmured, and the casualness of it broke him more than any confession could. The next morning, she handed him his coffee again, smiling as if the night before had never happened. "You okay?" she asked. "Did you sleep well?" he said instead. Eventually, she didn't meet his eyes. And in that moment, Ethan realized that love doesn't vanish in explosions. It fades in whispers. One small lie at a time. At work, he couldn't focus. Every ring of the phone made his stomach twist. Every text notification reminded him of hers. He'd seen betrayal before, countless times on duty, watching families collapse under the weight of secrets. But now, for the first time, he was inside the story. When his shift ended, he didn't go inside right away. He sat in his patrol car watching their home from the driveway. Through the curtain, he saw her pacing, phone pressed to her ear, smiling. Smiling like she used to, only not for him. He finally opened the door and stepped in. The smile vanished. "Who were you talking to?" he asked. "Oh, just a student about an exhibition," she said too quickly. "At midnight?" "Time zones," she replied, her lips trembling before forming another practiced smile. He wanted to believe her. But trust once cracked doesn't repair. It splinters. That night, Layla slept peacefully beside him while Ethan stared at the ceiling, wide-eyed. Outside, the rain had stopped, but inside something was unraveling. He closed his eyes and heard her whisper again, as if the walls themselves were repeating it back to him. "I miss you too." And that was the moment he knew. Their perfect marriage had just ended. The morning after the silence, Ethan woke before dawn. The air felt colder, as if the house itself was holding its breath. Layla was still asleep beside him, her hand curled loosely over her phone on the nightstand. For a long moment, he just stared at it, the device that had become a stranger in their marriage. He told himself he wouldn't look. He wasn't that kind of man. But curiosity, or maybe fear, whispered louder than reason. He reached for it quietly, his fingers trembling, heart thudding in his throat. The screen lit up at his touch. One unread message blinked across the top. "Adrian. We can't keep waiting. He's becoming suspicious." Ethan froze. The words seemed to echo in his head, sharp and unreal. "He's becoming suspicious." Was that about him? Or was it a coincidence, someone else, something else entirely? He read it again and again until the letters blurred. Layla stirred beside him. He dropped the phone back in place and turned away just as she opened her eyes. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked softly. Too many shifts, he said, forcing a yawn. She smiled, faint but careful, and got out of bed. As she walked toward the shower, Ethan watched her reflection in the mirror. Graceful, calm, ordinary. But the message burned behind his eyes. At work, he couldn't concentrate. Every call, every report felt meaningless compared to the storm inside his chest. He read that text 100 times in his head. Who was Adrian? A colleague, a friend, a secret lover plotting something darker? By the time he returned home, the question had turned into obsession. Layla was in the kitchen, stirring pasta, humming that same radio tune she always played when pretending everything was fine. How was your day? She asked without looking up. Long, he replied. Yours? Busy. My students are exhausting me lately. He nodded, watching the phone sitting beside her on the counter. It buzzed once. She glanced at it quickly, then flipped it face down. Ethan stepped closer, his voice steady but low. Who's Adrian? The wooden spoon slipped from her hand, clattering onto the floor. For half a second she froze, then laughed, a thin, nervous sound. What? I said, who's Adrian? She picked up the spoon, rinsed it under the tap, and said lightly, an old friend from college. Why? He texted you this morning. You went through my phone? Her tone sharpened, but her eyes darted sideways, avoiding his. I saw it accidentally, he lied. It said something about me being suspicious. Layla's lips parted, but no words came. Then slowly she smiled again, too controlled. It's for an art project, Ethan. He's helping me with an exhibition concept. You're reading into things that aren't there. He wanted to believe her. Wanted to let it go, but something in her voice, too polished, too practiced, kept him silent. That night, as they lay in bed, she turned her back to him. Her phone glowed once, then twice. She didn't move to check it. Maybe she thought he was asleep. Ethan stared at the faint light seeping through the curtains, the weight of that message pressing against his mind. He'd seen lies before, on the faces of suspects, in the eyes of victims, but never like this. He knew one thing for certain now. Something was being hidden from him. And whatever it was, it had already begun. Days passed, but the message never left Ethan's mind. The name Adrian replayed like static in his thoughts, louder each time Layla smiled too easily or left the room to take a call. He tried to convince himself it was harmless, that paranoia was twisting reality. But deep down, a part of him already knew the truth. It started with small things. Layla's car missing from the driveway late at night. Unexplained errands. Her perfume lingering when he came home hours later. And then, one evening, something new appeared. A black SUV parked across the street, engine off, lights dimmed. At first, Ethan thought it was nothing. Maybe a neighbor's guest, maybe coincidence. But the next night it was there again, idling just long enough to be noticed, disappearing the moment he stepped outside. On the third night, he waited by the window. The SUV returned, headlights off, a silhouette inside barely visible. Layla wasn't home yet. His chest tightened as he watched her car pull into the driveway moments later. The SUV's brake lights flickered once like a signal, and then it vanished into the darkness. When she came through the door, her hair was windblown, her smile too wide. You're up late, she said lightly. Couldn't sleep. She kissed his cheek, quick and mechanical, then disappeared upstairs. Ethan followed minutes later, quiet as the shadows that now seemed to live in their home. Her phone was on the nightstand, locked. He stared at it, tempted again, but he didn't need to look. The proof was already circling him like smoke. The next morning, he decided to follow her. Layla left the house at 10:30, claiming she had a private art session with a student downtown. Ethan trailed from a distance, keeping to side streets, the pulse in his ears matching the hum of his engine. She didn't go downtown. Instead, she drove across the bridge to a small motel on the outskirts of town, the kind that rented by the hour and kept its blinds closed. He parked far enough away to stay unseen. Through the cracked motel curtain, he saw her enter room 14. A man opened the door for her, tall, confident, dressed in a dark jacket. Ethan's stomach dropped. That had to be Adrian. But before he could process the betrayal fully, another figure entered the room, a heavier man, bald, carrying a briefcase. They didn't touch. No affection, no embrace, just tension. Layla sat on the edge of the bed, speaking fast, her hands moving nervously. Adrian leaned against the wall, silent but calculating, while the bald man nodded slowly as if considering an offer. Ethan strained to hear, but the sound was swallowed by the hum of passing cars. He took out his phone, snapping photos through the narrow gap in the curtain. One flash too bright. Layla's head turned sharply. He ducked back behind his car, breath quick and shallow. A minute later, the motel door opened. Adrian stepped out, scanning the lot. For a moment, their eyes nearly met. Ethan's heart slammed in his chest, but Adrian turned away and walked toward a black SUV. The same one from the nights before. Ethan stayed low until the vehicle disappeared. Layla came out moments later, glancing over her shoulder before driving away. He sat there for a long time, gripping the steering wheel, trembling with a mix of rage and fear. Whatever this was, it wasn't just an affair. There was something darker behind it. Money, secrets, a plan. As he followed her home at a distance, the questions multiplied like ghosts he couldn't shake. Who was the other man? What were they planning? And how long had she been lying to him? When Layla parked in the driveway and walked inside, Ethan stayed in his car, staring at the glowing windows of their perfect home. Something was happening inside his marriage, something far beyond betrayal. And tomorrow, he would find out exactly what. Ethan didn't sleep that night. The motel image burned behind his eyelids. Layla sitting on that bed, the strange men, the whispered urgency. Every time he closed his eyes, the scene replayed, sharper, crueler. He had seen enough as a cop to recognize guilt when he saw it, and now it was wearing his wife's face. By morning, he had made a decision. He wasn't going to accuse her blindly. He wanted to hear it from her lips, to watch the truth break free and destroy what little they still had left. Layla was already in the kitchen when he walked in, dressed in soft colors, her hair tied loosely, humming as though nothing had changed. The normalcy of it infuriated him. "Sleep well?" she asked, pouring his coffee. "Didn't sleep at all." "Oh, another case?" "You could say that." She froze for the briefest moment before recovering with a forced laugh. "You sound mysterious this morning." "I followed you yesterday." The words hung between them like smoke. The cup in her hand trembled. She didn't speak. Didn't even blink. "I saw you at the motel," he continued, his voice low and trembling. "Room 14. With 2 men. One of them Adrian, I'm guessing. Want to tell me what that was about?" Color drained from her face. She tried to steady her breath, but her composure cracked. "Ethan, it's not what it looked like." "Then what was it?" "Because from where I stood, it looked like betrayal." Tears gathered in her eyes, but her voice turned sharp, defensive. "You think I'm having an affair? After everything we've been through?" "I don't think," he said coldly. "I know." She shook her head, pacing the kitchen. "Adrian's a friend, all right? A mistake maybe, but not like that. He's been helping me with something personal." "What kind of personal thing happens in a motel with a stranger carrying a briefcase?" She didn't answer. The silence stretched. Then quietly she said, "I messed up, Ethan. I got too close. Adrian was someone I could talk to when you weren't there. It wasn't supposed to go this far. So there was something. Emotionally," she whispered. "Not physically. Not yet." Her voice broke on that last word, and Ethan felt something inside him snap. All the years, the shared laughter, the promises, they collapsed under the weight of that single admission. He turned away, gripping the edge of the counter, struggling to breathe. "I gave you everything," he said softly. "My time, my trust, my life. And you gave it to someone else. Ethan, please." But he was already walking away, his footsteps echoing down the hall. The rest of the day passed in silence. Layla stayed upstairs. Ethan sat in the living room, staring at the walls that once held their memories. He wanted to hate her, but beneath the anger was something worse, fear. Fear of what else she wasn't telling him. Fear that the motel wasn't just about an affair. That night, as he packed a small bag to leave, he glanced at her phone lying on the table. A new message flashed briefly before the screen went dark again. He didn't see all of it, just enough to twist his stomach. "Adrian, everything's ready. Tell him soon." Ethan's pulse quickened. Whatever this was, it wasn't over. It was only beginning, and next time it might not just be his marriage at risk. Ethan drove without direction, the night stretching endlessly before him. Streetlights smeared into gold streaks through his windshield. Rain beginning to fall in slow, deliberate drops. Layla's words kept echoing, "Not yet." Emotionally, but it wasn't the betrayal that haunted him anymore. It was that message. Everything's ready. Tell him soon. Tell him what? He pulled into an empty lot beside the precinct, killing the engine. The last person he wanted to see tonight was anyone from work. But he needed someone who could think straight, someone not drowning in rage and confusion like he was. There was only one person who fit that description. Detective Mia Torres. She'd been his partner years ago before she moved into investigations. Sharp mind, calm eyes, the kind of cop who could see through lies in seconds. They hadn't talked much lately. Life had a way of pushing people apart. But tonight she was his only anchor. He found her still at her desk, surrounded by files and the stale scent of burnt coffee. She looked up when he entered, surprise flickering across her face. "Ethan, it's almost midnight. You look like hell." "Thanks," he muttered, pulling up a chair. "Talk to me," she said gently. He told her everything. The messages, the motel, the two men, the lie about the exhibition. He even mentioned the newest text, "Everything's ready." "Tell him soon." Mia listened without interrupting, her expression unreadable. When he finished, she leaned back slowly. "You think your wife's having an affair?" "I know she's hiding something," Ethan said. "But it's more than that. I can feel it." "Feelings don't hold up in court," she said softly. "Evidence does." "Then help me find it." Mia hesitated. "You realize this could blow back on you. She's your wife. You start snooping around and it becomes personal. Dangerous." "It's already personal," he replied. "I'm not trying to arrest her, Mia. I just need to know what she's planning." She sighed, rubbing her temple. "All right. You said there were two men, Adrian and someone else?" "Yeah, heavy guy, bald. Looked like trouble." "Victor Ruiz," she said after a pause. "If I'm right, he's done time. Assault, insurance fraud, a couple of suspected arsons. He's slippery. Always walks free." Ethan's blood ran cold. "So she's mixed up with criminals now?" "Looks that way." Mia's voice dropped. "Ethan, listen to me. If Ruiz is involved, this isn't about an affair anymore. It's about money, maybe worse. You can't handle this alone." He stared at her, the truth slowly solidifying into something real, something deadly. "Then help me watch her." "You mean spy on her?" "Call it whatever you want, just help me find out the truth before something happens." Mia exhaled heavily, then nodded. "All right. I'll dig quietly, background checks, recent calls, maybe traffic cam footage near that motel. But Ethan, promise me you won't confront her again." "Not yet." He nodded, though he wasn't sure he could keep that promise. As he left the station, the rain had turned heavier, drumming on the hood of his car like a warning. The city lights blurred in the downpour, reflections twisting into shapes that looked almost human, like shadows watching him from every corner. He gripped the steering wheel, staring at his phone. One unread message blinked on the screen. "From Layla, can we talk tomorrow?" "It's important." Ethan swallowed hard. Tomorrow. Whatever it was, tomorrow would bring answers, or something far worse. The following morning, Ethan woke to the sharp trill of his phone. Sunlight pushed weakly through the blinds, painting pale bars across the unmade bed. His head throbbed from a sleepless night. He reached for the phone, expecting another message from Layla. But it was Mia. "Ethan, you need to come in," her voice said, low and urgent. "I found something." Within 20 minutes, he was at the precinct. Mia met him in the back office, a place that smelled faintly of old coffee and tension. On her desk sat a small black recorder tagged with evidence tape. "I pulled a few threads," she said, keeping her voice low. "Traffic cams caught Ruiz meeting with someone outside your house 3 nights ago. A man dropped this off at his car." She tapped the recorder. "Couldn't trace who, it was too dark. But I ran the timestamp. It was the same night you followed Layla to the motel." Ethan stared at it, throat tight. "What's on it?" "I haven't listened yet. Thought you should hear it first." Her tone was careful, as if she already sensed what might be on the tape. Ethan pressed play. Static filled the air first, followed by muffled voices. Then clear as daylight, Layla's voice. "Once it's done, I'll transfer the money." "No traces." Ethan's heart stopped. The other voice was male, rough and familiar. "Ruiz." "And the husband?" A pause. Then Layla's cold reply. "He'll be out of the picture soon." The world went silent except for the faint hum of the air vent. Ethan stared at the recorder like it might explode. "That's not her," he whispered. "It can't be." Mia's eyes softened. "Ethan, no, you don't understand. She couldn't do this." "I wish I could tell you otherwise," Mia said quietly. "But this is her voice, clear as day. I can get a forensic match if you want, but..." He turned away, gripping the edge of the desk until his knuckles whitened. She's planning to kill me. The words came out broken, alien, like they belonged to someone else. Mia didn't answer. She reached across the table and gently turned off the recorder. We'll handle this right. No rash moves. Let me build the case. Ethan shook his head. You don't get it. If she knows I'm suspicious, she'll run. Or worse, strike first. Then let me put surveillance on her, Mia said firmly. We'll get proof, real proof. Until then, you need to act normal. Go home. Pretend nothing's wrong. He laughed bitterly. Pretend my wife isn't plotting to murder me? Sure, easy. Mia's face softened with something almost like pity. Ethan, she's not the woman you thought she was. But don't let her destroy who you are. Promise me you'll keep your head. He didn't answer. He just stared at the small recorder, the last remnant of whatever truth he had left. By the time he reached his car, the air felt heavier, thicker. The city seemed distant, as if the world had shifted and left him behind. He sat for a long time, staring at his reflection in the mirror. Was that fear in his eyes or guilt? Because deep down, beneath the shock and heartbreak, something darker stirred. He remembered the fights, the lies, the quiet resentment that had grown between them. Maybe she wasn't the only one who'd been pretending. A notification buzzed on his phone. A new voice message. It was Layla. Her voice calm, almost tender. Ethan, I know things have felt strange lately. Can we talk tonight? I just need you to trust me. One last time. He closed his eyes, the words echoing like a death sentence. One last time. And as he started the car, a new thought clawed its way into his mind. Maybe this time, he wouldn't wait for her to strike first. By the time Ethan returned home that evening, dusk had swallowed the street in amber light. The house felt colder than usual, quiet, too quiet. Layla's car sat in the driveway, her favorite yellow scarf draped carelessly across the front seat, fluttering in the wind. He stepped inside. The faint scent of jasmine candles drifted through the living room, masking something metallic beneath. The dining table was set for two. Wine glasses, candles, dinner waiting. Ethan. Her voice came from the kitchen, warm and gentle, as if nothing in their world had shifted. You're early, he forced a smile. Couldn't wait to see you. She turned, eyes lighting up in that practiced way she always used when she needed to control the moment. I thought we could have a quiet night. Just us. Ethan nodded, slipping his phone from his pocket to check the silent call running in the background. Mia on the other end, recording everything. She'd insisted on it before he left the station. Keep her talking. Don't accuse her. Just observe. Dinner passed in uneasy silence. Every word felt like walking through glass. Layla talked about ordinary things. Her friend's art exhibit, a new client, how she'd missed him lately. Her hand brushed his once, light and deliberate. You've been distant, she said softly. Is everything okay? Ethan hesitated. Just work stress. You know how it is. She smiled faintly. Well, I hope it's not about us. He studied her face, the faint tremor at the corner of her mouth, the too perfect calm. Of course not. After dinner, she poured wine, leading him to the couch. The moment felt staged, rehearsed. She set her glass down and leaned closer. I wanted to talk about us, she began. About trust. Ethan's pulse thudded. Trust? Yes. Her voice softened further. Because secrets ruin everything, don't they? He froze. What are you talking about? I just want you to be honest, she said. If something's bothering you, I can handle it. Her gaze flicked briefly toward the side table, the one where she usually kept her phone. Tonight, a small black device rested there instead, almost hidden behind a flower vase. Ethan caught the glint of a red light. A recorder. Mia's voice echoed in his head. She's careful. If she's planning something, she'll want leverage. He played along, feigning calm. You're right. Honesty matters. He sipped the wine, forcing a steady breath. You first. Layla's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. What do you mean? Why don't you tell me what's really been going on, Layla? Who's Adrian? And Victor Ruiz? The room froze. Her eyes widened just enough to betray fear before she caught herself. What are you saying? She whispered. He leaned back slowly. You tell me. She stood abruptly, knocking the recorder off the table. The red light blinked out. You went through my phone, didn't you? She hissed. How dare you? Ethan rose, feigning confusion. What phone? I'm just asking questions. You're paranoid, she snapped, voice trembling. You always have been. But it wasn't anger, it was panic. And Ethan saw it. Layla, he said softly. If there's something you need to confess, now's the time. Her eyes glistened. You have no idea what you've done. Before he could reply, his phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from Mia flashed briefly on the screen. Don't drink the wine. Get out now. Ethan froze. He set the glass down carefully. Layla's face shifted, calm giving way to cold dread. What's wrong? She asked, voice too smooth. He forced a smile. Nothing. Just remembered I left something in the car. He walked to the door, pulse hammering. As he stepped outside, he caught her reflection in the glass, her expression no longer gentle, but calculating. Behind him, the candles flickered. Inside, the untouched wine shimmered under the soft light. One glass half full, one untouched, and in the quiet between heartbeats, Ethan finally realized the truth. This wasn't just an affair, it was a setup. Ethan didn't sleep that night. He sat in his car across the street, watching the faint glow from his own living room window. Layla moved around inside like a shadow, calm, deliberate, untouched by guilt. Every now and then she paused near the curtains as if sensing his presence. At 2:17 a.m. the lights went out. The house fell into silence. Mia's text replayed in his mind. Don't drink the wine. He still didn't know how she'd found out so fast, but the truth didn't matter now. Something inside that house was lethal, and Layla knew he knew. By dawn, he drove to Mia's office. The sky hung heavy with storm clouds. She was already waiting, tired eyes fixed on a stack of reports. The lab confirmed traces of cyanide in the wine sample I pulled from your table, she said quietly. If you'd taken one more sip. Ethan sank into the chair, the world narrowing to a single pounding heartbeat. She tried to poison me. Yes, Mia said grimly. But it's worse. The tape we found? It's not recent. It's 2 weeks old, he frowned. What do you mean? It was planted. Whoever wanted you to hear it wanted you scared, desperate. Someone's manipulating both of you. He stared at her. So you think she's being framed? I think you both are, Mia replied. And we don't have much time to find out who's behind it. Before he could respond, her phone buzzed. A call came through the dispatch line, an address, his address. Fire reported. They raced back through traffic, sirens wailing in the distance. When they arrived, flames licked the edges of the house, smoke curling into the gray morning. Firefighters swarmed the yard. But even from a distance, something felt wrong. The blaze was too clean, too contained, like it was meant to be seen, not to destroy. Was anyone inside? Ethan shouted. A firefighter shook his head. No one. Gas line was tampered with, but it looked staged. Almost theatrical. Mia's gaze hardened. She's sending a message. Ethan turned to her, voice breaking. She's still in control. Maybe, Mia said. Or maybe she's scared and running from the same people trying to set you up. They walked toward the charred doorway. Inside, the damage stopped abruptly at the living room wall. The rest of the house was untouched. On the coffee table sat something small and deliberate, a burnt envelope, edges singed but intact. Ethan reached for it carefully. Inside was a single photograph. Him and Layla on their wedding day, smiling, sunlight spilling over them. On the back, written in neat ink, were 4 words, "It was never love." His throat tightened. She's mocking me. Mia shook her head. No, she's talking to someone else. He looked up sharply. What? She wouldn't leave this here if she wanted you dead. This, Mia gestured at the ruined room, is a signal to whoever's watching. A gust of wind blew through the open frame, scattering ashes across the floor. Ethan's phone vibrated. A new message flashed on screen. An unknown number. Next time it won't just be fire. Mia grabbed the phone, jaw tight. We need to move you into protection now. No, Ethan said, shaking his head. This isn't random. Someone wants me erased, and Layla's just the face they're hiding behind. I'm not running. Mia studied him, her expression unreadable. Then what do you plan to do? He stared at the smoldering remains of his home, the photograph still clutched in his hand. Find her, he said quietly. Before they do. As they turned to leave, a firefighter called out, something glinting beneath the ash near the hearth. Mia crouched to look, then froze. It was a small metallic object, a hidden camera lens cracked from the heat. Someone hadn't just wanted to destroy evidence, they wanted to watch it burn. The hum of fluorescent lights filled the small gray room, steady and merciless. Ethan sat with his hands clasped, knuckles pale against the cold metal table. Across from him, Mia stood by the one-way mirror, arms folded, expression unreadable. He hadn't been arrested, but he wasn't free either. After the fire, the department had questions. Too many questions. "You understand why you're here," Mia said finally, turning toward him. "I'm a victim," Ethan replied, voice rough. "She tried to kill me." "Maybe," Mia said quietly, "but the evidence doesn't fully agree with you." She slid a folder across the table. Inside were photos. His house, the fire's origin point, a melted gas valve, and a fingerprint lifted from the metal casing. "Ethan's." He stared at it, heart hammering. "That's impossible." "Ethan," she said, tone softer now. "We ran your prints from the day you moved in. They match perfectly." He slammed his fist down. "Because it's my damn house." The door opened and another detective stepped in. Lieutenant Harris, older, gruff, suspicious by nature. "Torres," he said, eyes flicking toward Ethan. "Your friend's story doesn't line up. Neighbors say he left 15 minutes before the fire started. Security cam shows no one else entering after that." Ethan shot up from his chair. "You think I burned my own house?" Harris shrugged. "Insurance, revenge, covering something up. Pick one." Mia raised a hand. "That's enough, Lieutenant," Harris grunted. "Then explain the hidden camera we found. Who was he recording? His wife or himself?" Ethan's pulse thudded. "What camera?" "The one in your living room," Mia said, eyes locked on him. "We pulled the footage before the fire reached it. It was active for weeks," he swallowed hard. "You think I planted it?" "Did you?" Silence filled the room, thick and choking. Ethan looked from one face to another, realizing for the first time how easily truth could be twisted. "No," he said finally. "But I think I know who did." Mia leaned forward. "Say it. Adrian." "Layla's partner. He's been setting me up from the start." "And you can prove that?" Harris asked dryly. Ethan hesitated. "Not yet, but I know where to find him." Mia studied him carefully, searching his face. "If I let you walk out of here, Ethan, you have to promise me you won't do something reckless." "I'm already in a cage," he said softly. "Whether I'm sitting here or out there doesn't matter." Harris muttered something under his breath and exited, slamming the door behind him. Mia sat opposite Ethan again, lowering her voice. "Between us, I believe you. But I can't protect you if you start chasing ghosts. Let me dig. Give me time." "I don't have time," he said. "Whoever's behind this just sent me a message." "Next time it won't just be fire." Her expression darkened. "Show me." He slid his phone across. She read the text, jaw tightening. "This isn't just Layla or Adrian. There's someone else pulling strings." He nodded. "Then help me pull back," she exhaled. "All right. I'll get you out of here quietly, but you need to disappear for a while. No contact, no confrontation." Ethan looked at the mirrored wall, aware of the eyes behind it. "They already think I'm guilty. Disappearing will make them sure." "Sometimes," Mia said, standing. "You survive first and prove your innocence later." She walked to the door and signaled the guard. A few minutes later, Ethan was escorted down the narrow hallway, the metallic echo of his footsteps bouncing between concrete walls. As he reached the exit, he glanced through the window of an adjacent interrogation room and froze. Layla sat inside, hair disheveled, eyes rimmed red, hands trembling. A single light above her cast a pale glow across her face. For the first time, Ethan saw fear, not deceit. Their eyes met through the glass. She mouthed 2 words before an officer closed the door. "They're watching." 6 months later, the courtroom was packed. Journalists, officers, and strangers hungry for scandal. The story had spread far beyond their quiet town. Detective's wife plots murder. Husband becomes suspect. Ethan sat at the defense table, hands folded tightly. The walls felt closer each day. Across the room sat Layla, her once elegant face pale under the courtroom lights. Neither of them looked at each other anymore. Whatever love had existed was buried beneath layers of lies, recordings, and fear. Mia sat behind him, eyes steady. She'd promised to see this through, to find out who had twisted everything into chaos. The prosecution opened with precision. They showed the tape, the same one Ethan had first heard in Mia's office. Layla's voice, the promise of money, the cold line about removing her husband. It echoed through the room like a death sentence. When the audio stopped, the attorney turned to the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, the defendant's wife didn't act alone, but she acted knowingly. And the man she intended to destroy was sitting right beside her. Layla lowered her head, silent. Ethan's lawyer stood. Your Honor, that recording was tampered with. Forensic analysis found digital splicing, cutting, rearranging. We'll prove it. Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Next came the footage from the hidden camera, partially recovered from the burned remains of the house. It showed Layla meeting with a man, Adrian. But the angles were strange, the timestamps inconsistent. Mia had noticed it first. Someone had altered the metadata. The defense brought in a digital expert who confirmed it. The files had been manipulated by an external source using law enforcement encryption keys. Someone inside the system had forged the evidence. Gasps broke the courtroom's stillness. The judge leaned forward. You're saying a member of the police tampered with the recordings? Yes, Your Honor, the expert replied. The key signature used to encrypt the files matches credentials belonging to Lieutenant Daniel Harris. The courtroom erupted. Harris, seated among the investigators, went pale. He tried to stand, but two bailiffs were already moving toward him. Mia's jaw tightened. She'd suspected it, but hearing it confirmed still made her stomach twist. Harris had been on every case involving Victor Ruiz for years. Cases that mysteriously collapsed. The prosecution's argument began to crumble. Without the doctored evidence, everything fell apart. The poison traces, the fake text messages, the setup. It all led back to Harris and Ruiz. When it was her turn to testify, Layla's voice trembled. They told me Ethan was cheating on me, that he planned to leave me for someone else. Adrian said he could handle it. I thought it was just a scare, not... She couldn't finish. Tears streaked down her face. I didn't know they were using me. Ethan's gaze softened for the first time in months. He wanted to hate her, but hate required certainty, and his had long burned away. The jury deliberated only 4 hours. Layla was cleared of the murder plot but found guilty of obstruction. 6 months served, probation to follow. Harris was arrested that evening, facing charges of evidence tampering, corruption, and conspiracy to commit murder. When it was over, Ethan walked out of the courthouse into a pale winter sun. The world felt quieter, almost hollow. Mia joined him on the steps. You're free, she said. He nodded slowly. Free, but not whole. She hesitated. You still think she loved you? He looked down at the folded newspaper in his hand. Layla's photo beneath the headline. Maybe once, he said. But love built on lies was always going to collapse. They stood in silence as a cold breeze swept through the street, carrying away the remnants of everything they'd lost. Then Ethan's phone buzzed. A new message. No sender ID. The trial's over, but the game isn't. Mia glanced at the screen, eyes narrowing. Who sent that? Ethan's lips tightened. I think we just met the real man behind the screen. The world outside the courthouse was bright, almost mocking in its normalcy. Reporters shouted Ethan's name as he stepped into the sunlight, cameras flashing like gunfire. Each question cut like glass. Did your wife really try to kill you? Are you still in contact with her? Who sent the final message? He didn't answer. He just kept walking. Mia guided him through the crowd, her hand lightly on his shoulder. They reached her car, the doors shutting out the chaos. For the first time in months, silence surrounded him. You did it, she said softly. You survived. Ethan stared ahead. Survived isn't the same as living. The words lingered between them. The trial had cleared his name, but it hadn't freed him from the weight of everything lost, the home, the marriage, the sense of safety. Do you think it's over? He asked finally. Mia shook her head. No, whoever sent that last message isn't done. Harris was the face of something bigger. He didn't have the brains for all this. He turned toward her. Then we find whoever did. Not we, she said carefully. You've been through hell, Ethan. Let me handle this. I can't just walk away, he said. If someone's still out there watching, it means they're still planning something. That night, Ethan returned to what was left of his home. The ruins had been cleared, the ground scorched and silent. He stood at the center of the empty lot, the faint smell of smoke still clinging to the soil. He closed his eyes and listened. To the wind, to the faint hum of streetlights, to the echo of his own heartbeat. Then from somewhere close he heard a click. He turned sharply. A camera lens, small and metallic, was fixed to a telephone pole across the street. Red light blinking, watching, Ethan's breath caught. He crossed the road, yanked the device off, and studied the back. Police-grade surveillance tech, encrypted and marked. A tag number was scratched into the metal. Not a department code. Something else. He called Mia immediately. They're still watching. Someone left a new camera across the street. She was quiet for a moment. Can you send me the code number? He read it out. Silence again. Then a low curse. Mia? Her voice dropped. That code doesn't belong to the police. It belongs to the Department of Internal Security. Ethan frowned. What would they want with me? I don't know, she said, but this goes way beyond Harris. This is systemic. Someone inside the department used Layla to bury something else. The air grew colder, heavier. Ethan turned back toward the ashes of his old life. Then maybe the message wasn't a threat, he murmured. Maybe it was a warning. Later that night, unable to sleep, he drove to the county correctional center. Layla had been moved there after sentencing. He wasn't sure why he came. Closure, maybe. Or guilt. When she appeared behind the glass, she looked smaller, frailer. Her eyes, though, still burned with that same unsettling clarity. You shouldn't be here, she said quietly. I had to see you, he replied. They're still watching, she nodded slowly. I know, they always were. Adrian wasn't the one who started this. He was just another pawn. Then who's left? Ethan asked. Layla leaned closer to the glass. You'll know when they let you. Before he could ask more, a guard tapped his shoulder. Time was up. As he walked out into the parking lot, the air buzzed faintly. A dark SUV sat idling across the street, headlights off, tinted windows unmoving. He could feel eyes on him, steady, patient, waiting. Mia's words replayed in his head. This goes deeper. He got into his car, started the engine, and glanced once more in the mirror. The SUV followed, keeping distance. Ethan didn't speed up. He just whispered to himself, voice calm but resolute. If you want me to see the truth, then show it. And he drove into the night, unaware that the next revelation would rewrite everything he thought he knew.